Region section.
Hey, what's up? Today is Serum for beginners. We're going to get into some easy techniques and basic techniques that I use whenever I try to make a sound. Synthesis is pretty complex, so we want to, break it down easy for us, and I want to teach you the knobs that you should pay attention to, the knobs that I set as a priority, and the sounds that you can make using these techniques. First things first, we're going to go into Ableton. Now, once we're in Ableton, we got a little drum loop, and then we're going to hop into Serum. Now, usually when you have Serum loaded up, it'll look like this, but what I'm going to be doing is teaching you the techniques that I learned from Kompany. He would always make really super clean and loud sounds, and he would use certain knobs and certain effects to reach that sound. I also learned there's certain effects that sound really cool on the way, which I'll show you guys later. But first, we're going to just start with a basic shape, sine wave. We're going to choose this, and we're going to bring in a, crazier, dirtier sound from oscillator B. So you can pick like Monster, and you see the wavetable is a lot more distorted, dysfunctioned, and just looking crazy compared to our sine wave. So then what we're going to do is turn the level of oscillator B all the way down, and then turn on FM from B right away. The majority of our sound is going to come in from this effect here, frequency modulation. When you raise this up, you start getting the sound. Right now it's just a sine wave. Now you have your dubstep basses. From here, you can also mess with the octaves. You can go up semitones. You can go by 7, which is a fifth, 12, which is an octave, and mess with those numbers. And then you can also mess with the voicings. And remember, this is the signal that's going into our basic shape because we turned the level down. We can turn that up. Put this back here. And then we can keep on making a sound. So first we want to get an LFO. We can grab LFO 1, put it on the level, turn it all the way up. And now we start making a shape. We want to be able to be in full control of our shapes. And then from here, you can put it on trigger or envelope. If you put it on trigger, if you put it on envelope, so we stick to trigger when making these basses. Envelope is when you want to make sustained basses. Look at the rate. We're on a quarter note. You have a bar, which I use, the half, the quarter, the eighth, sometimes the 16th, and then activate triplet mode. And then I use these triplets a lot, like, or this. And then you have different basses. Later on, we're going to be duplicating these and then simply changing the rate to make different basses. Cool. Now that we have this, we're going to put them all on one voice to make this sound mono. Make it in the middle, and we'll continue. We can go to effects. Now with hyperdimension, this is just adding width. The way I usually use this, I would add it to the mix. If it ever does this, you can hold Shift Option and click, and it'll fix it. Now when you add it to the mix, it's going from nothing to some wideness. So that's how I would usually use these. But of course, you don't have to use the LFO. You can just turn them on. That's how to make it wide. Distortion is what I'm using basically all the time. Tube and soft clip, hard clip are very clean. Tube is very clean. Diode 1 and diode 2 are extremely distorted but great. Diode 2, you can put it on here and it'll go from 0 volume to 100 with diode 2. The others don't do that. So I recommend diode 2, and then of course downsamples, how to get your yoys. if you put it on just a sine wave. You can use that to get your yoys. Now we'll just leave this on tube for now because we want to have some distortion. The distortion's clean. Flanger, I don't usually use much, but you would use this as a tonal effect. You can add the LFO to it to just give it slight tonal. That's how I would use this. With the phaser, this one's awesome because if you turn all the knobs to the left, you can start getting a really cool sound. Then you can mess with the frequency and the depth. And you use this to get, for me, I get lower tones and really cool effects with the basses. You can do 50%, 30% with chorus. If you do short delays, you can get a nice effect that sounds cool. You can add the LFO in the mix. Add some cool effect. And of course you can change the rate. With delay, you can use the delay as a normal delay, right? Or if you link them up and then you make them very short, you can start getting a metallic sound. Turn up the mix. And we're basically wanting to stay from like 5 to 25. Very nice metallic sound. Now we're looking metallic-y. So the delay is awesome, and you can use the same technique with any delay, not just Serum delay. Multi-band compression, turn on multi-band, turn up the gain. This is a compressor affecting low, mids, and highs. Reverb. I'm sure you know what reverb does. EQ. You would use these as notches. So for example, we can get this, turn up the gain, and we have a little notch. We can move our notch. So you'd find a frequency you like, and then you would use the LFO on the gain to actually automate it. And then you can, focus on certain frequencies in your mix, maybe on the certain key that you like. You want to hit a certain note like the D or the E or the F. You can find it really easy like this. Of course, you can use a frequency chart and tune it as you need to. Note to frequency charts will help you do that. And they look like this. Then you'll just find the number here. You can use this to move. Instead of the gain, use the LFO to move the frequency. And we use this EQ to add movement to the sound. You'll use this for growls. And you'll use both of them. So we can get this over here. We put it on the frequency. Then you start adding some movement with the sound. And if you hear, a lot of the high frequencies are taken out now. But we're going to reintroduce them with OTT later. It's a big thing that Kompany does to make his sounds really loud but not harsh, is he takes out the highs at the beginning, but then adds OTT later on to then pump it up, and you'll see what it does here shortly. And then last but not least, we have the filter. section, which is going to be amazing. These are regular filters, just like this one. And the way I use it on the effects section is I would use these tonal filters to add different tones and add effects to the sound to make it sound cool. So for example, I go to the flanges, these ones, or I'll go to these ones, combs, all passes, reverb, performance. There's just a million basses now. Turn up the resonance, turn up the drive. You can turn these knobs by taste, by ear, and of course with the mix too. So when you're making a sound, it's really endless possibilities on whether the mix is 50%, 100, 30, or even if you want to use the LFO to add that push and pull. Remember, that's just creating movement. You want to keep having these knobs move. The more the sound is moving, the cooler it will sound, and you can start mixing and matching your growls with other basses. So then those are the tonal filters. On the regular filter section, I would use this for more movement. So I would get, for example, a high notch, which is the one I use basically all the time. And it looks like, you know, a regular high pass. We get the LFO, put it on the cutoff. Start adding some movement. You can turn all these lights on to affect all the sound. Right now you can't hear B. There's no noise on and the sub's not on, but we turn them on just for fun. And in case you start adding your sub and noise, the filter will affect it. Now, we have that, but we have this frequency knob also. So then we can move it up here, add the LFO, pull it down, and you're basically making them touch. When you create this notch, it adds more movement. So you want to play with these notches, play with the drive, and start making your sound. From here, then you can start basically experimenting with the FM from B. You can experiment with the Wavetable on oscillator B. You can experiment with these sounds here. And it's good to affect this sound because this is the sound that's coming into oscillator A. So we can go sync no window, which adds more pitch when you turn it up. Whenever I'm trying to add higher pitch to a sound, I'll be using sync no window. You can also get ASIM. You can start stretching out these samples. You can get mirror. And you would be looking through all these just to find ones that you like, and all these bin pluses and minus. So I like that. We can even add noise. I would usually use LFO to the level, turn it down, add a little bit of noise. You can go to the sub, add the LFO to the level, same. You can add a sub in there as well. I usually have the sub in most of the tracks, but then I take it out later to add a clean sub. When you add the sub in Serum, it can add extra layers of distortion that you might like. Sometimes you might want to take it out, but usually I'll leave it in. You can turn on direct out to make sure that it is not affected by any of the effects. Now we'll go back to the effects and we're going to turn on this EQ. Turn on the filter. And I like that. You can get your loud rack, which would have your OTT, and then you can start actually making the sound louder. simple OTT, saturator, OTT, saturator, EQ, glue compressor, and utility. And to finish it up and clip it at 0, we have JST clip, which you can then boost even more. Now you can go back to the sound and keep making it. You can start changing wavetables. And start finding a sound that you like. And this is my process, just going through sounds and finding something that I like. You can start moving the cutoff knobs to start changing the way it's moving. Cool. We can add this, add the compressor again, add the delay. Cool. Now we can make the rate like this. We can start messing with the LFO shape. So I'm 1 bar and I'm making my first sound. This will be a growl for the beginning. Now when I hear this, it's too long. I want to shorten it. So then I'll go back into Serum. And then now we can shorten it from a bar to half. Now I'm listening to the timing of the kick and drums, then making my sound. And then from here, you can simply duplicate the sound, move this, and then start with the call and response. And if you see here, I leave some space because we want to have a little section in between the call and response. Boom. And then from here, you can open up Serum. And then you can start making variations to the sound. Easy thing you can do is go into the rate, start messing with the rate, maybe turn triplet back on. Maybe we can extend this now. Cool. And then you start adding different pitches and different tones to your new bass. So we can get sync no window. I picked sync no window because this is adding pitch. So you want to start messing with different pitches. Perfect. Now you have some basic fundamentals for Serum. You can be able to go into Serum, you know, turn a couple knobs, start your basses out, start layering out the drop. As you see, when I duplicated it, it's easy to start building the drop, but we still have a full 8-bar drop we need to make. And the next video I'll make will be exactly how to structure the drop. Start with a growl, call and response. We'll go over everything so that we can make full length drops that'll sound good. Remember, if you want these sounds, get them on my Patreon. You can hit the link. Otherwise, like, subscribe. Peace.